terrain, the operator should avoid rough spots and potholes. If the operator cannot avoid a rough spot, such as a railroad crossing, the operator should slow down and cross it carefully, at an angle, one wheel at a time. When traveling, the fork should be just high enough off the ground surface to allow for safe clearance. On a smooth surface, this is just several inches off the ground. On rough or uneven surfaces, the forks may be raised slightly for safe travel. Inclines are always a challenge. If the forklift has no load, travel in reverse up an incline and forward down an incline. This will keep the center of gravity for the truck above the front drive wheels. If, on the other hand, the forklift is loaded, travel forward up an incline and backward down an incline. Again, this keeps the center of gravity for the load above the front drive wheels. Never turn while driving up or down a ramp or incline. Forklifts are built narrow and the center of gravity can quickly shift outside the stability triangle, causing the vehicle to tip over. The lifting forks can be moved from side to side to adjust for different types of loads. The operator should take time to adjust the forks to fit the load. Adjusting the forks outward for wide loads helps to center the load, making it more stable. Most forklifts require that this be done by hand. The operator should raise the forks to about waist high to reduce strain on the back. Don't allow operators to kick the forks into place. As this is done, the operator should inspect the forks for cracks and signs of stress. The mast assembly should also be inspected. Look for any broken, chipped, misaligned, warped, or worn parts in the chains, hydraulic cylinder, or backrest. Chain slack means there is a problem in the lift mechanism. Do not allow operators to put their hands in the lift mechanism. Use an object, such as a piece of wood, to inspect the condition of the chains. Visually inspect the hydraulic hoses and connections. Look to make sure the hoses are in good condition. Check for leaks around fittings and connecting points. Forklift attachments must be represented on the vehicle's capacity plate. If the capacity plate does not identify the vehicle's capacity for the forklift attachment, the operator should not use the equipment until the plate or the attachment is changed. The operator should always be aware of the vehicle's capacity. All forklifts must have a capacity plate indicating capacity weight and other important information set forth by the manufacturer. The plate must be specific to the truck configuration, attachments, and fork height and load center. The plate must be replaced when it becomes illegible, is lost, or the truck configuration or load center changes. The operator should be able to read and interpret all the information on a vehicle's data plate. When using rough terrain forklifts, the operator should become familiar with any load chart that accommodates the vehicle. Load areas show maximum rated load capacities. Each area defines the capacity that may be lifted and placed. There are many factors that contribute to a vehicle's stability. The distance between the vehicle's front and rear wheels, the distance between the wheels on the vehicle's same axle, the height of the vehicle, and load, and the load's weight and distribution. The stability triangle, used in most stability discussions, demonstrates this simply. The front two wheels and the center of the rear axle, when connected with imaginary lines, form this triangle. An unloaded forklift will have its center of gravity positioned near the center of the triangle. When a vehicle is loaded, the combined center of gravity of the load and the vehicle shifts towards the front axle. Longitudinal stability is the truck's resistance to overturning forward or rearward. If the combined center of gravity of the load and the vehicle exceeds the capacity of the forklift, the vehicle will overturn forward. Lateral stability is the truck's resistance to tipping over sideways. A vehicle's lateral stability is determined by drawing an imaginary line through the combined center of gravity of the load and the vehicle. As long as the imaginary line falls within the stability triangle, the truck is stable and will not tip over. Factors that affect a vehicle's lateral stability include the load's placement on the truck, the height of the load above the surface of which the vehicle is operating, and the vehicle's degree of lean. Dynamic forces should also be discussed with the operator. Dynamic forces are those when the vehicle and load are put into motion. operators should slow down when turning corners and refrain from raising, lowering, or tilting the load while moving. There are general safety rules that apply to all forklifts. You are required to train employees in all operating instructions, warnings, and precautions listed in the operator's manual for the type of vehicle that the employee is being trained to operate. If the operator's manual addresses the use of safety restraint devices, then their use is required. Operators should be aware that they are also responsible for the safety of others as well. No person is allowed to stand or pass under an elevated portion of any forklift, loaded or unloaded. Operators should not allow others to stand dangerously close to the vehicle and never allow riders. When a powered industrial truck is left unattended, the forks must be fully lowered, controls neutralized, power shut off, and brakes set. Wheels must be blocked if the forklift is parked on an incline. Operators must be aware of any overhead hazards. Sufficient room under lights, pipes, and sprinkler systems should be maintained, and no piece of equipment may be within 10 feet of an overhead power line. No modifications may be made to the forklift without written permission from the manufacturer. Homemade rigging connections fail. The topics discussed so far in no way constitutes a complete list of training topics. Each job site is different, posing its own unique hazards. This is why OSHA mandates a practical component to the operator training. To ensure that the operator has comprehended the training and can safely operate a powered industrial truck, an evaluation of the employee must be performed. This can be done by having a discussion with the employee, by observing the employee during forklift operation, through written documentation of previous training, or a performance test. You could set up a testing area and observe your operators performing certain tasks while watching for proper operating procedures. Observe the operators as they get on and off the equipment, making sure they use the handholds, maintain a 3-point contact, and are facing the equipment. Have them pick up and lower a load, making sure that the load is properly tilted and that the forks are centered under the load. And ensure that travel speeds do not exceed that of a fast walking pace. Once all evaluation methods have been completed, and you are satisfied in that an operator has shown an understanding of how to operate a forklift safely, you should then complete a certification of training record. Refer back to your operators list, and for each employee, develop a file indicating the operator's name, the date of the training, the date of the evaluation, and the identity of the person performing the training or evaluation. Each certification should be for a specific piece of equipment. If an operator is being evaluated for several different types of forklifts, the certification must reflect that operator has successfully shown competency for each type. During the course of work, you may observe the employee performing an unsafe act, such as riding with the load too high or not maintaining a 3-point contact when getting on or off the vehicle. You should point out the incorrect manner of operation of the forklift. Tell the employee how to do the operation correctly, and then ensure the employee does the operation correctly. The OSHA standard also requires that an evaluation of the operator's performance be conducted at least once every 3 years, so each employee's certification must never be dated more than 3 years from the current date.
Well, that about covers it, and it might sound like a lot of work, but no one should be denied the information that is essential to operate a forklift safely. You see, most forklift accidents are as a result of inadequate operator training, and by following OSHA's forklift training standard, you can keep the operators in the seat. Thank you.